Here I'm going to introduce to you three things: the wrap feature, dynamic mirror, and an advanced way of using offset entities. You don't have to follow along in this video to complete the part that I'm doing. I just want to show you how these three things work and help you to understand them so that when you go on to the lab for today, you have a better idea of what you're actually doing. So to begin, I need to get a working example, so I'm going to make a 3-inch diameter cylinder that is 6 inches long, which will be our example piece for this video. So I will do that real quick. Okay, here's my cylinder. Now, to do any wrap feature, you need to sketch on a plane that is tangent to the cylinder that you want to wrap around, or that is tangent to the curved surface that you want to wrap around. So I'm going to make a new plane that is tangent to the cylindrical surface. So I made this plane tangent to the cylindrical surface. I also made it parallel to the top plane just for convenience. And then I'm going to sketch the sketch that I want to wrap around the cylinder on this new plane that I've just created. So I'll start out with a slot at an angle. So I'll choose the center point straight slot and just draw a slot that is at an angle. I'll add some dimensions like a radius of 0.25 and maybe an angle from the center line of 65 degrees. And then I'm also going to add a horizontal dimension. Okay. I'm going to add a horizontal dimension that's going to be equal to the total distance around the cylinder, because I want this slot to wrap all the way around the cylinder. I want the center points to line up with each other on the other side of the cylinder. So to do that, I can enter an equation for the circumference of the circle, which is equal to the diameter of the cylinder times the constant value of pi. And if you've never ran into pi before, pi is just this constant value where if you multiply it by any diameter of any circular thing, you're going to equal the distance that goes all the way around the circle. So for us, our diameter is 3, so I'll press the equal sign and then 3 times pi. And I can just type pi in. I don't have to approximate what pi is. SOLIDWORKS already knows what pi is, so I will just tell it to multiply it by pi, and this will get me a lot more accuracy with my value. When I press enter, a capital sigma shows up in the dimension dialog box, which signifies that this dimension is now driven by an equation, not a number. And I'll press the confirm, and that same capital sigma will show up next to my dimension value. This is telling me as a designer that, hey, remember, this dimension is driven by an equation. It's not driven by just a number. So now the sketch is fully defined. It should wrap all the way around the cylinder. So to use the wrap tool, because wrap, it involves two planes, I have to exit the sketch before I can use the wrap tool. If I go to the Features tab and try and find wrap, you will see that it is grayed out. That's because I need to exit the sketch first. So I'll confirm my sketch, and then I can use the wrap tool. And note how my sketch is highlighted right now when I click on this. Because my sketch was highlighted, the wrap parameters put that sketch in the sketches box, thinking that I want to use that sketch for this wrap tool, which I do. Then the next box is the face for wrap sketch, so that face is going to be the cylindrical face. And then I get a preview of what this is going to look like. With wrap, I can either add material or I can remove material. The add material option, it's called emboss. The remove material option is called deboss. Those options are under wrap type right here. So I'm going to remove material, so I'll say deboss, and I'll remove up to a depth of 0.125. And I'll hit confirm there to see my creation. The slot is wrapping all the way around the cylinder. This is something that I couldn't quite do with a revolve, and I couldn't quite do it with a sweep either because of the weird geometry change at the ends of the slots. And you can also see, if I zoom in here, that the center points of the slots are lined up on the other side of the cylinder because of that equation that I put in for it to wrap the total distance around the cylinder. It's wrapping the total distance around the cylinder, which is great. That's exactly what I wanted. I want to illustrate two more things to you, and then I'll let you go on to the wrap lab. Okay, so to illustrate those two things, I'm just going to make a change to my wrap sketch. I'm going to not just change it, but to delete the whole thing so I could show you something else. This next thing that I'm going to show you is dynamic mirror. To use dynamic mirror, first I need a center line at the point where I want to mirror about. So I just drew a center line, and now I'm going to go to tools in the menu bar, which if you haven't been up here much, this menu bar up here pretty much has everything that you would ever need in the ribbon or in any special dialog boxes. This has everything. Like, it has all the extrudes and cut extrudes and features and patterns and all that kind of stuff. It's just another location for you to find the tool that you're looking for. But anyways, I'm going to go to tools and then go down to sketch tools and then up to dynamic mirror, because dynamic mirror, I don't think it's anywhere on the command manager. So I find it here, and it wants me to select a center line, so I'll do that. And what I'm going to do is just draw a simple U shape. I'm going to start with a midpoint line at the origin. I get a note that says unable to create the symmetric element. You can guess that's because the midline automatically makes it symmetric. But once I draw this next line, you see how it drew it up there on the left side too. I only drew it once on the right side, but dynamic mirror allowed me to do it on the left side too, which is pretty great. So I'll put some dimensions on this, because this is really all I wanted to draw. I'll make this 1.5 is good. And then I'm going to want this to wrap around halfway of the cylinder. So to make it wrap around halfway, I can say equals the diameter of the cylinder, which is 3 times pi, and then throw in a 0.5 there too, so that it only wraps around halfway. There's the halfway mark. And so that's my sketch. That's dynamic mirror. Lastly, I'm going to illustrate offset entities in a way that's a little more cool. So, well, actually first let me add some fillets here. So I'll add a 0.5 fillet to the corners here. Okay. So now say I wanted this line to be the center line of a really weird slot. So I could go to offset entities. I can select one of the entities, and it's going to collect them all because they're all tangent to each other. and I can click the bidirectional option to put it on both sides of my original line. I can also cap the ends with the cap the ends option, and I can do it with arcs or lines. In this case, I'm going to do it with arcs because I'm trying to make a weird slot. Does that make sense? I hope this makes sense. I'm making this weird slot that kind of wraps around my original sketch that I made. And then to make my original sketch into a center line, there's a construction geometry option where I can click make the base geometry the construction geometry. I'm going to change my slot or my offset size to 0.25, and then I'll confirm that. And you see it made my original sketch a center line and an offset from that original sketch 0.25 on each side, and I have dimensions to make claim to that. 0.25 on each side, and it also capped the ends with arcs, which is very nice. So then I can rebuild this because I already have the slot feature, and I can see if I look at directly the right view that the center line of the slot is directly halfway. It's directly halfway between the cylinder. So these are some cool things that you can't really get with any other sketch tool. So now I'd like you to go on to